are born into a world that hands us a script. Most live out their role without question. Some are called to write their own story. And for those who align within, they find their purpose is their power.
Hi, I'm Chris Barano with the Purpose Power Podcast. Most companies talk about growth in terms of valuation and exit. I recently sat down with Molly Latham of Global Healing. For them, growth means something much different. We spoke about building without outside pressure, leading through uncertainty, and measuring success by the number of families they can support, not how fast they can sell. If you're thinking about long-term leadership, health, and the kind of business you want to leave behind, this interview is a must-see. Thank you for taking the time to meet with Purpose Power Podcast. Today, I'm in Houston, Texas with Molly Latham of Global Healing. Just want to kick off the conversation about what it is that Global Healing does, who do you serve, and what is the mission of Global Healing?
Good question. Global Healing is a manufacturer of the best supplements and cleanses and vitamins in the world. We're very proud of our products because we serve people who want to enrich their bodies through natural health and help their families to live their best lives.
You know, I have been a consumer of supplements over the years, and I've tried different companies that claim that they have a good product. Just from an outsider's perspective, the supplement industry looks kind of like the Wild West. There's a lot of claims made. There doesn't seem to be a lot of regulation around it. And so, how do you all deal with that environment?
You know, that's the funny thing about it is it's actually very regulated, but there are players in the industry who come and go and use a lot of language that we disagree with. The FDA obviously disagrees with. We are very careful with the language that we use to make sure that when we put something in our customers' bodies, it is pure, it is healthy, it is clean. We know exactly where it came from, in many cases down to the seeds and when it was planted. And so, you know, the Wild West is a lot of noise on the outside of our industry, but in the core, there are people like ourselves who are very concerned about what we're putting in the bodies of our customers. We want them to have the best.
Leading Global Healing for 20 plus years, you've had to have had some challenging times. I don't know, maybe it's with staffing, maybe it's with product sourcing or distribution. Can you recall a time when you felt really challenged by a particular problem?
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple that come to mind immediately. You know, and they're both related to global events, I guess I would say. So the first one was the recession in 2008, 2009. And we were kind of a young company at that time, and I'd been with them for about 5 or 6 years. And our cash flow wasn't just like pouring in, and we were still growing and trying to do everything that we could to keep growing at that point. And that was a huge shock because we do sell a premium product. We at that time probably had 3 or 4 products, and we were selling some third-party products as well. And just keeping a day-to-day, week-to-week grip on our cash flow was very challenging. And it was one of those experiments where you're like, do I know what I'm talking about? Let's see. And you know, we came out of it, and that was fine. And I think that kind of paved the way for when COVID hit, which is the second world event that obviously blew everybody's doors off. You know, we were just like, what do we do? How do we deal with this? And immediately we kind of came to the conclusion that we were an essential business because the things that we offered were helping people to reduce inflammation, to be healthier, to fortify themselves. And they needed us. And so we didn't take a break. We were out of the office for maybe 3 weeks. And then when the kind of rules about what's an essential business, what isn't, started to come out, we went to work. And at that point, we were obviously manufacturing in our facility in Phoenix. And so we had workers coming in every day. We had to help people through COVID cases in their families. We tested everybody when they came in the mornings. We tested them when they left or in the middle of the day, taking temperatures. There was a lot of adjustment and a sort of shifting direction that needed to take place. And I think we really mastered it. The thing that was even more challenging then was that the world became aware of natural health at that same time. And so our business was going through the roof, and we're like, okay, we need to be getting materials. We need to meet this demand because people really are worried. They want to feel like they're doing everything they can to fortify their health. And we're in the middle of this supply chain situation that, is very, very challenging. And so we just, all hands were on deck across the board. Everybody just really came through, and we banded together, and we all had a very kind of family-like culture at work. And, it made it kind of a really fulfilling situation,
It brought people closer together.
It brought us closer together, and it brought us closer with our customers too, because they were scared and they're like looking to us. And we're like, okay.
For answers.
Yeah, let us help you.
Did people come to you saying, hey, well, I saw this stuff about ivermectin. Do you all offer any alternative?
Oh, yeah.
That question gets posed, I bet.
Constantly got posed. And, being in the industry that we're in, we have to be very careful with our words. And we have to make sure that we are not making claims. And so we did, and we would tell people that. We said, that's not something that we offer. And we don't really have a lot of answers on that for you, because it's a really fine line. And it was also a very confusing time medically for people, because they were hearing so many different things. And, communication across the board was kind of an all-time low, I think, during that time. And I think that that's kind of what's given birth to the interest in natural health that we see today, is that people were like, I want to look at all the options.
Right.
I want to look at everything that I can do for my family, for my parents, for the people that I love, to make sure that we're all healthy and that we have the resources and the access that we need to the things that will help us.
It's really interesting the way COVID, I see that in my own life outside of, even this question, that it kind of, busted the mask off some things, and people say, well, is this really what's going on? It causes people to question, what they see out in the world. I'm not happy about any tragedy or any death anywhere, but sometimes these things happen and it causes a greater awakening. It's
a huge shift in the public's way of thinking about things. And I think that also is why we are very transparent with what we do, how we do it. We love to show our manufacturing facilities how clean they are, how happy people are to be here working and doing this, because it's very mission driven. We're a business like any other business, but we have that advantage of having this really, really great story and this great mission that we kind of are pursuing every day when we come in. And we like to tell people about our third-party testing, our in-house testing, our manufacturing processes, the organic materials that we use to build our facilities.
Is everything organic? Are all
where it's possible? Okay. There are a lot of things in life that can never be organic. That doesn't mean they're bad, but where possible, they're organic. We have no VOC paints. Epoxy on the floor is completely non-off-gassing. We use a lot of materials that are healthy and that we hope people will also use in their homes.
even the water.
The water
I saw
is
the
triple distilled.
Wow.
Yeah.
I want
We do
one of
that
those.
here.
I
Yeah.
want one of those at home.
Do you have an extra room? You saw the room, right? With the three huge tanks. Yeah. Yeah. We triple distill all of our water that is used in our products. And yeah, it's a good feeling to be able to work here. We're all very proud of what we do and how we do it. And we want to tell people about it.
Regarding the vetting of the materials for the supplements, someone in the facility today mentioned that there's a scanner that scans the life, if that's the right term, of the ingredients. Can you tell me how that works? Or
I can probably describe it about as well as you just described it, but we in Phoenix have gone through this process of looking at the energy that's in different materials and photographing it with a special video process. And, that's about the extent of my knowledge in how that works, except that, it's really interesting to see these vibrant colors. And we're interested in the energy that's in living things, plants especially, and what that energy does when it's transferred to our bodies.
gives us the maximum healing power or supplement power?
I mean, I would hope so. It's definitely something that we're looking at, we're researching, we're investigating, and I don't think there are any conclusions that are solid that have come out of that. It's just something that we're very interested in pursuing. It's one of the fun things about being here in our R&D group is that we go down a lot of different paths and investigate a lot of things that are interesting to us, because nothing is a waste of money. It's always just a source of more knowledge, more information. We're free to do that because it's our own money. And so we like to pursue things and see where they go. And that's one of them.
A lot of companies build to sell. You're building with no end game. What's different about that approach?
Man, it gives you a lot of freedom. As a CFO, which is kind of a stodgy, detail-oriented, restriction-based position, on the CFO side of my job, I kind of think, okay, well, the nice thing is I don't have anybody that I have to scrimp and save for, that I have to hit a target so that they can have a 5-year exit. So it gives us a lot more freedom to use the money for things that we think are useful to us. And then on the president or operating side of my position, it just opens a lot of doors to curiosity, which is one of my favorite themes, is intellectual curiosity. I just love being able to find out more about something and not worry about whether it costs some money to do that. It just gives us creativity, and it's like the runway has no end. You're just continuing down the road, not looking for that off-ramp as soon as possible.
I assume you would never not consider exiting to a PE firm or outside investors, or is that off the table?
It's for the near term, midterm, it's off the table. We think of it as off the table because that just gives us kind of that sense of open-ended adventure. I think we are very fiscally responsible. We fund a lot of our, with the exception of real estate, we pretty much fund all of our own activities. And that just gives you a lot of freedom. We don't worry how much something costs. We just want it to be the best it can be. And we don't have a master that is counting the pennies. So
what does success look like 10 years from now? Let's say you don't sell. Mm-hmm. What would it look like? More facilities, more products?
We're always developing new products. That's one thing that you can count on with us, is that there's a constant flow of something new coming. The ability to do that. We always want to keep up with the zeitgeist, I guess. What's going on in the world? What are people interested in, and how are they interested in accessing it? We've gone through a couple of periods where we're like, let's look at gummies, let's look at this, and kind of have moved on past those for various reasons. But there's going to be the next thing and the next thing, and we always want to be open to that and able to do that. The thing that when you say down the road, the thing that I think is very exciting is that we're going to have a bigger group of coworkers, more people that we'll get to know, more families that will be supported by us and by our mission, and they're supporting us as we grow. It's kind of a really great synergy between the people that work here and the work that they do. And I'm at a point in my career where I just love looking at that and enjoying it. More people mean more people to know. It's fun.
Building a family, building a community with business. You think about business as a platform for community, as opposed to a platform to, feed bank accounts.
Right.
So I really appreciate that. I think that's the future for humanity. We have to serve each other is the bottom line, because if we don't, then we will see further decay and destruction and, poor health, poor mental health. We have to find what it is inside of us that we can joyfully serve others. And I sense that everybody involved here is a part of that mission. So big appreciation.
Absolutely.
Simon Sinek once said that people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do what you do. Molly Latham, why do you do what you do?
I love Simon Sinek, and I love that book and the videos that have come out of it. And we recently actually talked about that with our management team. We do some gathering once a year and talking about different themes. And so for me, being where I am in my career, I think it really boils down to people. It's not at this point raising my kids. They're doing great. It's not about making more money. It's really about every day, can I make things just a little bit better for the people that come behind me? Can I leave this place better when I go? And how can I do that? And I do spend a lot of time thinking about that. And there's a certain amount of mentorship, I guess, and establishing processes that will help people to grow without the pain that kind of we went through as we were growing, and just really making the world a better place. It sounds very trite to say that, but it's actually from my heart. And what else is there left for me to do other than that at this point?
That's awesome. I'm on that same channel too. So related to that question, if there were somebody, let me put it this way. If you could speak to 25-year-old Molly Latham, and maybe that Molly had some anxieties, some fears, some unknowns, what would you tell that young Molly Latham?
I've actually been asked that question by one of the women who works for me a couple of years ago. I think they were doing some Q&A type thing. And the biggest thing that I would tell her is to not be afraid. I think that even more today than back then, there's a lot of fear of what comes next. And don't be afraid. It'll be okay. Trust yourself, but move forward boldly. That I spent a lot of time dealing with fear. I think I grew up, although I had parents who were a little bit organic and hippie-ish, they were also very, very driven for my achievements as a child of theirs. And I spent a lot of time worrying about not achieving what needed to be done to make them happy. And that molded me as a 20-something person, for sure. And I've told other friends who are younger than I am that there's a minute in life where a light bulb kind of clicks on and you say, whoa, I think this is all going to work out. And you shed the fear. I wish I had done that earlier in life. I wish I had had the ability or the knowledge to do that. But
do you call that faith?
I mean, faith for me is a very big part of who I am. Faith is a good way of putting it. I think faith in the fact that life goes on. It just goes on. And you're a piece of it. You're the biggest piece to yourself, right? But you're just a little piece of it. And 99.9% of the time, things are just going to be fine. And just go live your life. Don't hold yourself back.
Any fears that I've ever had, like big picture fears, like they've never materialized. Like, why?
Yeah, exactly. There were a couple things early in my adulthood that were traumatic, I think. And even then, you get to the other side of it and you live a joyful life. And so that's just kind of the thing I would have told that 25-year-old Molly and every 25-year-old or older who still has fear and lets it control their life.
Yeah, when we look out at the world, we see things in the news. A lot of our institutions, the food supply, doesn't seem like it's served the public. It seems like there's been a lot of, I don't know if greed is the right word, but a lot of people just trying to pad the bottom line. Kendall gave me a tour this morning and told me a little bit about what you all do, and super impressed by the the ethic here and the vision for a different type of business. Maybe a business that actually does serve their customers.
Yeah. I mean, and there are different motivations for why people do things. I mean, I think in some cases you have people who are trying to serve a very mass population, and then there are others who are trying to do it really cheap and fast. And, we are aiming to serve a population who understands that things don't happen fast, they don't happen cheap all the time. But that if you go back to the basics, that the basics are good. Whole foods, clean water, clean environment. We make everything here. We know all about the ingredients and the people who sell them to us and the people behind them who grow them. And we're very committed to putting the best things in our bodies, and to ignoring kind of the loud calls for more, cheaper. That's just not really who we are and who we want to be.
So I guess you're not beholden to a bunch of shareholders or a stock price.
Correct. As you know, we're a family-owned business, and we always have been. And the goal is, at least now, that's where we're going in the future. We don't feel the pressure for a quick exit. We're a company that thrives on being authentic, on being natural, on serving the base that we know has those same values.
So one of the things that I see in your marketing materials is this concept of healing, natural healing. I think from my perspective as a consumer, it's so important that we get back, as you said, back to the basics, the stuff that came from the earth, the stuff that, that maybe we're even made of, So those things can serve and support us. What does healing, how does that integrate into your supply chain, how you manufacture?
I think for us, healing is a very nuanced kind of word, and supplements are a part of that, obviously. I think that we're really always trying to find the root cause of whatever it is that is afflicting people. And that may not be supplementation. It may be movement. It may be releasing tension. It may be educating people on how they can heal themselves. For me, diet is such a huge part of it. And I think supplementation is sort of a layer on top of a very healthy diet. It's not the thing. It is secondary.
Right.
But it can be so helpful. In terms of our manufacturing plants, processes, we are very, very specific with how we do things. We're very open to letting people see how that's done. And we believe that we're doing it the right way and the best way. And so we've invested a huge amount of time, money, resources into what's now our second manufacturing facility, but just so that we can deliver on those things, doing things that will help people relieve their stress, that will help them sleep better, that will educate them about their bodies and their health and how to always make those things better.
Yeah, what you said about supplements being a supplement. I think in our culture, there's this like quick fix, this,
Yeah.
hey, take a pill,
Right.
you'll be all better. So I noticed that Dr. Group, your founder, he doesn't he help with education for your customers or even for the public in general? Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, I think he's kind of evolved into a role where he spends a lot of time out speaking with groups of people, speaking through his different podcasts, interviews, trying to bring attention to the things that can optimize our health and our well-being. A lot of the things he talks about focus on stress and how toxic that can be if you let it build up. That he focuses on sleep, movement, breathing, a lot of the things that are totally within your power as an individual to improve the way that your life proceeds. You can do all these things and they don't cost you a dime. I think relieving stress is probably one thing that he focuses on and we all focus on because it can be so detrimental to people's health. And so, yeah, he's out working in the educational side of things a lot. We have an institute where we teach courses on natural health and on different aspects of healing and wellness. And so, yeah, that's kind of his mission right now, is to be out talking about that. And we're in a time in the world where natural health is getting a lot more attention and a lot more focus and emphasis, which is great. And we're really excited about that.
Fantastic. The way I see that is that's leadership. It's not just leadership even for your business or even for necessarily the industry, but just helping people educate themselves about how to maintain health aside from supplements. That's awesome. You've been with Global Healing for 20 years. What drew you to join Global Healing?
When I first started with Global Healing, it was just at the very, very beginning of what it is today. I think prior to my joining, they had a clinic and were doing some kind of clinical work. And then when I joined, we had just started selling a single product on the internet. And e-commerce wasn't something that people really knew about back then. It was kind of a fun new concept. I really enjoyed that. I come from a background in California where my parents grew 80% of the food that we ate. It's a beautiful place to grow things. And my parents really loved gardening. And to this day, I get pictures of my dad with a giant basket full of tomatoes or peppers or whatever the season is. And it's just so sweet to see that. And so I was immediately kind of attracted to that aspect of this business and enjoyed learning more about it. To me, it had just been, oh, that's what we eat. And didn't really think about it. And I was always kind of jealous of my friends at school who had Oreos, when I had the raisin cookies that were made with whole wheat flour. But, I realized what my mother was doing, what my parents were doing, was making natural health a part of our everyday life. And so that's kind of something that I've enjoyed as we've grown and, met some of the people whose lives have really been enhanced by knowing us. And then that starts to feed on itself. And you get this great energy from talking to these people, hearing from them about how they've learned so much about optimizing their health, their well-being, their wellness, their sense of calm. And they've stayed with us for a very long time. Many of our customers have been with us as long as I have.
So you started selling supplements online at the dawn of the e-com era.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
there was, before you came, was Global Healing doing e-com at all, or did you help spearhead that?
When I came, they were just starting to do that. And I came in on the financial side, sort of the financial management and making sure that, we had the cash flow to continue to grow the business. We started in a little office suite and had kind of the shipping area was at one end of the room. And then there were a couple desks and, and then we grew to take in the next office down the hall, and shipping got the old space, and then the offices moved over. And, it was kind of a bootstrap kind of business. Julio, my colleague, Julio Torres, and I started at about the same time. And so we just sort of figured out what's the next thing we need. We needed somebody who had a beautiful graphic design talent, and so we brought in Nida Ali, still with us today, and does fabulous things with our creative aspect. And then we brought in customer service people and just continued to grow and kind of figure out what we needed to really, really meet our customers kind of where they were. And over time, that's definitely evolved.
So what is that? Is it simply a good website? Is it marketing? I mean, I would imagine that there's quite a multiple from when you started to where you are today.
Yeah.
Probably 10x or more.
Size-wise, it's more than 100x.
Wow.
Considerably more than 100x. But in terms of meeting our customers where they are, that's also multiplied. I mean, people were trying us out. They're like, I'll try to buy something on the internet, but most of our customers would actually still mail us a check, ask us for what they wanted, and then we'd get it because they didn't trust the internet. They didn't want to put their credit card numbers in, a lot of that kind of thing. And so we got to know some of these customers by their handwriting and by the notes that they would send with the letters they sent in. And we started there. And now, of course, people shop on Amazon, they shop on our website, they buy things on Instagram, they buy things on TikTok. We're in Sprouts across the country, and a lot of other retail chains in the natural health world. And, we really want to just be where our customers are.
Right.
And so it's been an amazing growth experience for us.
I've noticed some language here with some of your employees that they talk about helping your customers and even people that may not even be your customers to do their own research. What's that all about?
Yeah, we really, really want people to understand what they're putting into their bodies. There's a vast difference from one end of the spectrum to the other in the supplement space. We want them to understand that organic, from the earth, non-GMO materials will enrich their bodies. We package things in a certain way. We deliver them in a certain way. We want them to learn about third-party testing, about manufacturing processes that are kinder to the ingredients, that don't strip them of the nutrients. We want them to learn about bioavailability of ingredients and what things are absorbed more easily into their bodies so that they can be more beneficial. The difference between one form of magnesium and another is night and day. We want them to understand these things so that when they make the decision to purchase something and to put it into the bodies of their families and themselves, they're doing something good for themselves. They're not just spending money on something that really isn't going to help them.
I understand that you all have really high standards as far as quality control. I even heard that your standards are higher than even the best third-party outfits that do that.
Well, our standards are definitely higher than the requirements of the FDA and any certifying bodies. We do tests above and beyond that for things like heavy metals, for example. That's not a requirement, but for us it is. And we test everything that comes in. We have our own standards in-house that definitely, it gets kind of tough sometimes when we're trying to find ingredients that fall within our scale of permissible micros, heavy metals, and that kind of thing, because our standards are definitely higher. We want to give people something that's just really clean, really good for their bodies. And this often results in things costing more for us. We definitely make our supplements we put them in glass bottles, which are very heavy to ship. They break, there's a lot of care that goes into how we package things so that we're giving them a clean receptacle, not just clean ingredients. And so, yeah, we don't want to x-ray things. We are very careful with where materials come from and how they've been treated before they get to us. It just all matters. It matters a lot. And we want people to understand those differentials between our products and other potential products on the market. That's why we ask them to research it. We ask them to learn what's important for them, and we show them how to do that.
Would you, from an outsider perspective, that sounds like real leadership, honestly, like from a global macro perspective, but also in your industry. Do you find any of your competitors like trying to emulate your way or copycat, that kind of thing?
Yeah, definitely. We've seen the occurrence of distilled water and triple distilled water, which had never been on a label before, is now appearing on different labels. There are other words that we have used as the first in our field to use them that are now appearing other places. But I also do think that there are other competitors in our field who really care. And so maybe that we're taking the lead, but they're saying, wow, that's really great. I want to be like them. And, I think that flattery is, it's definitely important. And, they're trying to be like us. Well, great.
It ups it actually helps the people everybody's trying to serve,
Exactly.
Yeah.
We want people to be healthy, and we want them to have the best ingredients, put the best things into their bodies. And if other people are doing that because we did it first, I love it. Why not?
Amazing. Molly, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And more power to you and everybody in this building and in your company. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Very good.